Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kaleidoscope of the Arts. I'm Marie LaBrosse,
And I'm Dee Gozion.
and we're your co-hosts today. And I know you're saying, where have you two ladies been? Because we've been off the grid for a while, right, Dee Dee? At
Absolutely.
least social media, we haven't been streaming. Well, I'll fill you in. I've been a little ill. I just had a pacemaker put in, and I have a couple more things coming up. But you know what? You, the audience, you're very important to us, and we want to be able to get the information out. And because of that, Dee Dee, we're going to have you talk a little bit real quick about what's happening at that Northport Art Center, how you're involved with Wellham Park, and what you're doing up there, and what else is going on, because it's been a crazy world for you right now, right?
Absolutely, Mary. You're right. It's high season. We have all kind of people in town, all kind of activities going on. We just had a reception for the lovely artists that are at the Welland Park Welcome Center. It's Ray and Bayless Jewelry. Linda Pica has art on the wall in the Welcome Center. And Joanne McLaren has art on the wall of the new Louis that used to be the Bean and Barrel and Bean, and now it's Louis. So there's art all over the place and beautiful artists. We just had their reception. And we are also having the honor of being the wine and beer cart tent at the soft opening of the downtown Welland Park. So we'll be there this coming Friday and Saturday of this week. And we were there last week and we had a real fun time. There's a lot of really nice people that were there for all kind of events. There's live music on Friday night. There Wednesday nights they have family game night. So come down to Welland Park and check out the new downtown area. Now,
And how is it? How is it? How is that new downtown?
Beautiful. It's not quite finished yet. That's why it's a soft opening. They did have a grand opening originally scheduled before the hurricanes, but things got a little behind with the restaurants being able to get their equipment and things getting open. So instead of not having an opening, they're doing a soft opening. They're having smaller groups of people. They have food available in food carts. They have, again, as a nonprofit, we have the privilege of getting to sell the wine and beer that people would be getting in this kind of an event, and then we get to keep the profits for the art center as a 501c3, and that's our first time in doing that. So it was pretty fun to get to play bartenders, and then they just have all kind of events and the beautiful art downtown. Oh my goodness. They have this giant piece of art that was done. I don't know the artist's name. He's out of Miami, and it's sprayed, and you can see it from 41 coming down 41 from Venice towards Northport. It is so big and so colorful and so amazing. And then there's some smaller pieces of art that Laura Pommier did on two different murals. It's just absolutely fabulous. It's a beautiful downtown area. There's a giant new lake that they had put in. It's just beautiful.
And where is Welland Park? Because I'm new to the area and I just don't know what you're talking about, and you're calling the Welland Park. Well,
Yes.
where's Cool Park today? It's next to the Atlanta Braves.
Absolutely.
It's on 41 as you're going north. It is not Venice, just to get this clear. There's a little bit of people that go, it has a Venice address, but it's not Venice. It's actually the city of Northport, and the city of Northport helped with the arrangements of the development and everything, even for the Braves to come in. There's a lot of things like that have happened because of Welland Park. And enough with this. What else? I know you have tons of classes and stuff going on.
I do have it. We have a fashion.
Wait, one more thing.
On March 5th. March 5th. So the 25th is the last day to get tickets. But it's our annual fashion tea. It's at Heron Creek Golf and Country Club. And it's urban culture clothes. And it is all kind of fun stuff. They have mini makeovers. They have people that do hair having silent auctions. They have 50-50. They have a wonderful luncheon. It's chicken marsala and
Where is it? What is
it's
it?
at Heron Creek Golf and Country Club.
What's that for?
It's for our fashion show, our annual
Oh, the fashion show. What's the
yes.
date? What's the date?
The date is March 5th, but the last day to buy tickets is this coming up February 25th.
Oh, you know what? I would come, but I don't know. Like last year, I was supposed to actually be doing it, and
Yeah, I know. You had stuff going on last year and this year.
yeah, breast
Yeah.
cancer last year. This year, cut
Oh
the
my
neck, cut the throw things in the heart. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Anyhow, with all of that being said, any other thing? And let me tell you, we're back on air. In case anybody didn't know, our radio station got hit by lightning, and then the hurricane came, and we got flooded. So we we weren't able to be on air. We had the equipment; it had come in right before the hurricane, but then the studio got flooded. So we were out of commission for a long time till we could get.
I didn't understand that.
Yeah, I'm trying to turn off my phone. Oh Lord, help me, help me. Hey, Justin Cody Willis, hi. I saw that he actually posted that he's here. You know, hello, Marion.
Hi, Justin.
Yeah, and he when all else fails, and Justin, we need to have you come on with us. Okay,
Yes.
about us, because I'm really excited about our first guest of the year. And I'm sorry, everybody, that you've been missing us. And I know people have been reaching out to us. And we're going to try. We're going to try to get some of these shows in between everything else going on. This man that we have on our show today is he and I were trying to figure out how long we've known each other for a long time. And I knew him. I think I first met James through the Charlotte Players, and him and his wife Ginger work backstage. And he is actually a good actor too, believe it or not. I don't think too many. I don't know, and we can talk to James about that. I don't know how many other things James has done, but he was the conductor in a centennial or a play that was written for the history of Punta Gorda. So we can talk about that, but that isn't why we're having him on today, because he's a man of many talents. He's a book broker, or he edits a lot of people's books, like over 500, I think.
Wow.
And we're going to get into that with James, because who better to tell their story instead of me screwing it up for them than the person themselves. So without further ado, my friend will be your friend, Dee Dee, and to the audience, Mr. James Abraham. Hello.
Hi,
Thank
James.
you, Marie. Hi, Dee Dee. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, thanks for being
Well, you know, it's great to have you on the show, because you're so well versed and so well spoken, and you have such a background and a history, because I've done the history of your life with you before, and I know where you came from and how you got where you're at. Or where are you at, James? That is the question. Where are you at in your life? But you've done so much in your life, and you've been so influential in the community. So let's talk about, before we even get into your book fair, because that's why we're here to talk about the Charlotte Harbor Book Fair that will be held this coming weekend. At where? If you've never been there, this is the time to do it. The Military Heritage Museum. And we're going to have to talk about that. What a wonderful place to have an event like this. And you'll be doing a lecture series there too. But James, before we even get into that, tell Dee Dee, tell the audience about what happens on Friday in a park in Punta Gorda. The floor is yours.
First of all, I want to thank you, Marie, for being the first media outlet to talk about Happy Hour Marketplace. Every Friday, beginning at 4 o'clock. We have a musician, Lester Costa. We have a cook who cooks soul food, and we have a steady clientele. Traditionally, it's a farmer's market, but it's more of a cultural place. We have literary readings, we have art on display, we have vendors. So it's sort of like, wow, a nightclub for culture every
Nice.
Friday.
A nightclub for culture. And what park is it in?
This is in the historic Bailey Brothers Park, which is named for the Bailey brothers, seven brothers from Punta Gorda who fought in World War II or Korea.
And what were they known for?
Well, the oldest brother was a Tuskegee Airman. The rest of them served in various branches of the military. One of them, Berlin Bailey, served on the first all black ship commissioned by the United States Navy, the USS Mason. He was an electrician's mate, and after the war, he came back and became an electrician here in Punta Gorda.
So, so much history, so much wealth of history, and how important that the Bailey's brothers were to Punta Gorda, and how much rich history is right here in our area. James, so tell us what's happening this weekend with who are you going to have there this weekend?
Well,
And I'm talking about at the park.
Lena Jones, a lot of people know Lena. She was a letter carrier. She was the first female black letter carrier in Charlotte County. And she had a rural route. So a lot of people know her. She is very active in her church, and she works for CARE, the Center for Abuse and Rape Emergency. Lena has an excellent voice, sounds like a songbird. She's going to sing Lift Every Voice and Sing. If you remember, that's the song that Shirley Ralph sang before the Super Bowl 2 weeks ago. Lester Costa, again, is an accomplished musician in town. So he's going to do a special medley of songs that reflect Black culture. For example, he'll do some stuff by W.C. Handy to show the influence of, I guess, Black culture on popular music. But it's a celebration. We'll also talk about that community and how rich the community itself is. It's hard to believe, but years ago, there were about 5 times as many people living on that east side as there is today. And it was a completely different community from what it is now.
And that's where the history comes in and how rich everything is. And James, just to talk about history, you just got through within the last 2 years. And in fact, I'm going to bring this up on the screen that Dee Dee and I are, uh, I'm tacking two people, so bear with me. Century. Okay, tell us a little bit about this book, A People's History of Charlotte County.
About 3 years ago, I found out that the county was not going to be celebrating the centennial. I had recently acted in a centennial play sponsored by the History Center. I majored in history. I was a journalist for 20 years, and I still love reading and writing history. And so I said, I'm going to write a book. And so I did pretty much. I spent a year doing the research, interviewing people. I also got people who either are prominent in the community or well versed in what they wrote about to write guest essays for the book. For example, there's columns from the Clerk of Courts. There's one from the Register of Wills. Nancy Prafke wrote one when she was mayor of Punta Gorda. Lynn Harrell, who, as you know, is an archivist and historian, yeah, she wrote about the 60s in a way that's unbelievable, a big, long essay. I got a lot of help from artists like Charles Peck, who let me use their work. And so the book is in full color. And I guess I'm like a proud papa. It's a beautiful book. And I wanted it to be beautiful so that people would read about the history.
Yeah, it
Yeah, I
is.
stuck a
It's
timeline.
yeah.
But
And
anyway, it was
And that's one of the things. And James, let's talk just briefly before we go into the book festival for this weekend. Let's talk briefly about what you do now, because you're a book broker. That's what your email address is, and you help people with editing and helping with writing when they're trying to get their books published. And then tell Dee Dee. Dee Dee knows nothing about you. So tell Dee Dee, she's met you for the first time now, what you do.
Well, before I do that, I just want to praise Dee Dee and just tell her how I'm gratified to see all the art that's happening in Northport. 20 years ago, when I worked for the Sun, our office was where the supervisor of elections office is on Bay Shore, whatever, and 41. And there really wasn't a lot of art in Northport. Welland Park was just a dream. It was still a plantation of some type. And so I'm just amazed at what's happening. I'm actually looking at your office in the background and I see the art. And so that's just beautiful. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. We really try. And also we have an art advisory board here in Northport. And we just got just the last couple of years, we got public art murals on walls. We got it around the art center now, and we're getting it on the senior center. We're taking artists to bring in concepts and ideas, and we have another statue coming in up at Price and Sumter. So lots of good things are coming into Northport, and it's wonderful that we're getting more colorful, and we're embracing the arts more than ever. So thank you very much for noticing, James.
Well, I'm sort of meeting one of the people responsible for just the beauty of Northport. If you look at even the bridges that you see on Sumter where they sort of remodeled or whatever,
Mhm.
there are things of beauty. And so it's
Absolutely.
pleasing to the eye. So anyway, you asked me about me. What I do is sort of vertical integration. I help people to write. If they've got half a book, I'll show them how to produce the whole book. In cases where they need a ghostwriter, I can fill in. Once we have a book, I know how to format a manuscript so they'll have whatever book they want, be it a big 8 by 10 art book or a 5 by 8 novel. Um, I'll get it published and put the books in their hands, or I'll put it on Kindle, or whatever means they want to see that happen. So that's pretty much what I do.
And how many? I think it's about 500, haven't you?
Yeah, when
Hell,
you
yeah.
add up the people whose books I've edited, that I've consulted on, that I've actually published, that whole 9 yards that I mentioned, well, it's more than 500 now. But yeah, I've been
Yeah.
doing this for about 20, 25 years.
Does that show your age? And I want to do a shout out. I saw that Chris Porter was watching us. And Chris Porter, in case anybody doesn't know,
Yeah.
is yeah, he's an editor for the Charlotte Sun. So thank you, Chris, for tuning in. Uh, Now let's get on to the Charlotte Harbor Book Fair. How did this concept come together? How did you put this together?
Well, it's a natural corollary to my business. When we were finished, the authors would have a book, but how could they sell it? I don't do any marketing. I give advice, but that's about it. So they're on their own. A group of them came to me one day, and this was about 16, 17 years ago, and asked could I help put something together, some sort of book fair or festival. I did that. That became the Dearborn Street Book Festival, and that ran for about 3 years. And that led to a string of other ones, Book Week in Charlotte, in Punta, the Charlotte County Book Fair over in Bayshore Park. And so it's something that I sort of backed into doing, but I like doing because it gives authors an opportunity not only to sell their work, but to meet other authors. And so I guess this will be the 16th one that I've done. We were fortunate this time because Gary Butler, the executive director of the Military Heritage Museum, he's real big on education. And he stresses that. And when you take a tour, you see that too. So we saw this as a natural progression from that. We were able to, we're only one of 4 cities in the state to secure a book festival grant from Florida Humanities. That's the statewide clearinghouse of the arts.
Right.
So it's something we're looking forward to.
And the Military Heritage Museum, what a beautiful place to have this at. And they have a theater in there, and you're going to be doing the lectures of the different authors in that theater. Is that where you're holding it, James?
Well, we're going to have Booksellers Row. And what that'll
Right.
be is people who want to sell their books. And they'll be on that veranda that's sort of like outside or behind it on the second floor, just
Hmm.
the whole row of them. Robert McComber, the keynote speaker, of course, will speak in the auditorium at 9 o'clock. Then we have 11 different workshops. Some of them are taking place concurrently, and they'll be throughout the building.
Yeah, and when you're talking about that, I'm going to bring up on the screen so we can show our audience exactly who is going to be in the lecture series. However, I know of different authors that I know from our Writers on the Air that we do a radio show, that some of the writers on the air are going to be there selling their wares. And I know that Linda Shell probably will be there because she has her Gracie series, and which is really geared for teenage kids. And it's actually a really good series that
It
she's put
is.
together. Yeah, it
It is.
really is. And she even has it in the Key West, in the Hemingway house, because she has one about a cat,
That
a
one,
Hemingway cat.
Marie, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I helped her with that book.
Oh, did
It's a
you?
great book about rescue rats who are able to detect landmines, and somehow some of them fall in love and go through some adventures in Key West, and Hemingway's house featured in it. So yeah, she's got such a good style.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she really does. And she's such a well meaning person. Now, here, do I have it up on the screen? Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your keynote speaker here, Robert McComber.
Well, Robert McComber is the kind of writer, author, lecturer that I love because he's real. He started out as a history teacher. He really enjoys history, and he developed that into a livelihood. His hallmark or trademark series is about a guy named Peter Wake who starts out as a young lieutenant on a sailing ship during the Civil War. And this is what I love about it. It's real history. The Peace River was a battleground or a war front because people trying to ship cattle to the Confederacy, particularly after Vicksburg fell and Texas was cut off, would try to run that cattle through Charlotte County to the points like Puerto Rasa. And
Hmm.
so Wake's job on his little ship was to sail up and down the Peace River, keeping the peace for the Union. So anyway, it evolves into a love story on Usepa Island where Union fugitives held out. It goes to the age of steam. Eventually, he gains higher rank, gets a bigger and bigger boat. And what is great about the book festival Saturday, Robert will be unveiling the final book in the series, number 17. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
I'm going to get. Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
great lecturer, I guess because he used to be a teacher. And a lot of historians put you to sleep, but this guy makes you want to go home and write a book. So I'm excited
And,
about
and
it.
that's the point even of the festival, is for those people that are looking to even do any of their own writing, and that this is actually a perfect place to come because you can learn from people that have already gone through that. Uh, when I'm looking at this flyer here up on the screen, are you having a children's story hour, a live music, autographed books, free writing seminars, youth writing workshops, booksellers row with the authors and their books on display? We talked about that. Art and sculpture garden and a veteran's tales. Tell me a little bit about some of those.
Okay, we'll go down the list. We have several children's authors who will be available. They'll be in a special section And they'll all have the opportunity to read from their books to children at designated times. We'll have live music there. It might be Lester Costa, or it might be a quieter musician I know, but we'll have a musician there playing almost constantly. The authors, of course, as they sell their books, they'll be autographing them. Now, the
Mhm.
writing seminars, do you have that second sheet there, Marie, that lists all the lecturers?
Yeah, here you go. Can you see
You know,
them?
this is going to be great for people who are thinking about writing a book. They have specific questions. We'll have 11 lecturers talking about different aspects of writing. Chuck Emma, he's this guy, he's a lawyer from Boston, and he's written a string of real, they call them noir books, real dark, edgy books where guys talk tough and beat people up or whatever. So he's going to talk about how to bring that to your dialogue to make it come alive. D.L. Havlin has lectured and written, I think, 13 books, many of
Yeah,
them
he's one
focused
of
on
my favorite authors. He
Yes,
is
he
one.
is. He knows how to
Yeah,
bring history to life.
yeah,
So he's
he really
give
does.
on that. Richard Hale has written three coming of age books, and they're different from the usual thing where men beat everybody up and talk tough. They involve the sensitivity that men go through. For example, PTSD. He has a whole novel about how it destroys lives. Myra Allen Kingsbury, her biggest influence was her grandma. She called her Mawsy. And Mawsy just made everything happen, gave him and her and her brother a reason for living, a goal in life, standards. She went on to become a certified financial planner. Her brother became a DJ and an artist. And so she sat down and gathered up every scrap of material she could find about Mawsy and found a hope chest full of everything Mawsy kept from the time Mawsy was a baby and developed that into a great memoir with a zillion photographs. And I know because I had to put every single one in there. It's a great book. And it's the kind of thing she's going to lecture on how to do that because that was her first time doing it. But because of her background in financial planning, she is unbelievably meticulous. She's got something called squaring up, where if you've got two numbers and you got the sum listed, you can't just have it any kind of way. It all got to square up. So anyway, that's her. Paul LaFleur is real good at working scenery and environment into his books. One of his books is about Arcadia. Another one is about a dead mill town up around Boston. But you feel how the environment makes people do the things they do and even talk the way they talk. So he's going to describe how to do that. Josh Strunad, this is a good one. This guy's a children's librarian by day, but by night he works horror. He writes horror, and I mean horror fiction. He's one of the
Stephen, yeah, Stephen King guy.
I know he's one of the leaders of the horror fiction writers club here in town as part of a national group. So he'll be talking about that. Now, Martina Pulliam is doing something that just speaks to the Military Heritage Museum. We've ordered 25 copies of a book called The Wall. It's a children's book about a boy who visits the Vietnam Memorial with his grandfather. And his grandfather explains what it really means to the boy. So, Miss Pulliam, she's a Charlotte County teacher. She's going to be leading the students in a workshop. And as part of that workshop, they'll be writing letters to veterans, thanking them for their service. So it's just a way to knit the mission of the Heritage Museum and writing together. Naomi Pringle, she's the author of two books. She's most of the way through her third book, as she's very good at helping other authors find their voice. She's conducted a workshop for about 3 years called Finding Your Voice, where she particularly is good with women. Like one woman told her, "My husband laughs at everything I write, so I'm scared to write." Stuff like that. And Naomi is able to bring people out. Matter of fact, Richard Hale over there, he took Naomi's class, and that led him to start writing books. Steve Riley, I used to work with Steve at the Sun years ago, and he's a real tough guy reporter. You know, if you met him, you know, you watch what you say. But he also is a poet, And he has a style of writing that reminds me the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock comes to mind. If you remember that from English class, where the writer takes the most mundane of objects and invests them with a sense of importance that we get. Uh, well, I could go on, but let me stop. But William Welsh has written two novels about a couple that meet in high school. The boy's a nerd, the girl's real shy. The boy's best friend dies in this dumb thing, the kind of thing kids do, and that sort of changes him. Then his second novel has this couple married and going through that thing married people go through, where they get a little fat and tired of each other, you know? Yeah. So he's able to invest like ordinary life with meaning. And that guy at the bottom, I'm going to give a lecture on the art of the essay. I used to be a journalist. I spent most of that time as an opinion writer, an editorial writer. I wrote a column and a book column. So that sort of rounds out the lectures. So people, I hope, will not only have the informal opportunity to learn by just rubbing elbows with other writers and authors, but they could get the formal process by taking some of these classes and seeing what it leads to. And it's all free.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Free is always good. No, does it cost them any money to come into the museum?
Sure, the same price that it always costs. If you just came, if you just
Yeah,
came to the museum, yeah, you'd pay the museum fee to get in.
right, but they don't have to pay to come to this. If they were going through the exhibits, they would have to pay to go through. I
Yeah.
just wanted to be clear about that because I'm sure that's going to be a question that does get asked. No, when we're talking about this, James, one of
Hmm.
the things, because I was actually a facilitator for them when DL and a few of those people did the Hudson Comes to the Harbor, and
Mm.
they actually brought down some agents and different people like that because people are, a lot of people self-publish, but also to get published by one of the bigger houses or by different publishing companies, or even to have an agent, like a literary agent, or like if you do theater, we all, many people do not know this, but to move in any of these worlds, there's a process that you have to go through, and it's almost sometimes who you got to make that relationship. You can't put a book out there unsolicited. If you were to send in your manuscript to some place, it might end up in the trash. Am I correct on that, James?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know that. Will you be talking about that process with people, or if they ask, will that be something that they can learn about?
Um, no, what we're
Okay,
focusing on is the creative process, how to
okay,
write, and
okay. Because
personally,
you
and
have to have a book first to be able to or some writing to actually submit. Correct?
I guess what I mean by that, and I'll talk further about that. There are two paths you could go. You could publish your own book, and that costs you money. Say for $1,200, you could get 100 copies of your book published, and then sell them and try to make money. If you print a second hundred, it'll cost half as much because you're just printing. You're not paying somebody to do it for you. Or you could take the route that you described, Marie. The first step is to get an agent. If you send a manuscript unsolicited, they probably will throw it away. And that's partly because it's possible for them to be sued if they kept it. Then some kind of way, another author in their stable writes a book similar to that, and you can prove they've got yours. You see what I mean? So
Yeah.
they'll throw it away and send you something saying, we ain't going to use it, forget it. You have to get an agent.
Mhm.
Agents, and that speaks to what you said, Maria, about it's who you know. Most agents are former publishers or clerks in publishing houses.
Mhm.
And what they do, because they know what publishers like, the good ones know how to pick a book that they can sell because they have to eat too. And so when
Right.
they turn you down, a lot of times it's not because you've written a bad book. or whatever. It's because it just doesn't fit what they do.
Right,
It's a
and that's yeah. And if you do get an agent, you have to research because agents actually only go after they have a niche, and they might be a murder mystery, or they may be young adults, or they have a niche that's all they'll take, or even go to solicit for you. Correct?
yeah. I'm smiling because I will also say this: lightning does strike. There are times when the most awful book or the best book on at just the right time.
Hmm.
One classic example is Shades of Grey that came
Oh,
out at a time
yeah,
when
yeah.
for that you're about to fall off or ready for that kind of book. And no one has been able to duplicate it since. And I've seen various efforts. Um, Years ago,
I meant,
20 years
yeah,
ago,
I
remember
meant,
Ted Williams?
yes,
Let me just say this real fast because this is funny. You remember Ted Williams, the baseball player? When
yes.
he died, his son froze him, cryogenics, so that
Uh-huh.
years later they could bring him back or his cells. And I don't know how that worked out. But the very year his son did that, some guy self published a book about this guy stealing that Ted Williams corpse and freezing it. And so lightning struck. And that book did very well just because it happened to show up at the right time.
Yeah.
So I say all of that to say that, well, Harry Potter was a case
Yeah.
where a clerk happened to read the manuscript and said, geez, this is great, and fought for it. And that
Yeah.
contradicts what I said earlier about just sending a manuscript in. And so lightning can strike, but it's like winning a lottery. I wouldn't bet on it.
Right. And I actually spent a weekend with Stephanie Myers from the Twilight series. My
Hmm.
granddaughter won the national international contest, was a U.S. winner. They flew us up into um, Vancouver, spent the
Hmm.
weekend with her, and they did not. Each one of us was assigned an agent from that country, and they were from Spain and Thailand and all over the place. And she sat down with at our dinner table at the end, and me, the most here, I'm used to asking questions. So I'm asking her stuff, and I didn't realize that all these other agents had told their people that they were representing, not to ask her personal questions. Well, nobody told me that, so I'm asking. Yeah, and she did answer. And the thing is I was asking her personal questions about how the fame affected her family. How did that work with her marriage, and different things like that? Because she
Hmm.
was a housewife writing writing the series at night when everybody's in bed, and she was just writing it for her own enjoyment. Where her sister ended up sending it in, not her knowing it, and she ends up having this huge series. And they were filming the last um, of the series up in Vancouver while we were up there. So it was just really interesting to see her perspective on how it is behind the scenes, because she had no intention of ever being published. She
Huh.
wrote for her own enjoyment originally. So it was kind of strange in how it affected her family personally because of the fame it brought with it. And be careful what you wish for, because sometimes fame is toxic,
Yes.
and well, like Stephen King. Stephen King lives here, part time up on Casey Key. Yet he's a lot of people in the area do know him. You know, he'll just walk into the, go get gas or something like that. Oh, that's Stephen King. And uh, um, James, talking about that, who is has any of the writers that you've done or been affiliated with, have they been really, I shouldn't say not successful, but I know DL may be having a Netflix coming out. I probably shouldn't be saying that on air and stuff, but from his books and stuff, there are things that can happen because of your books that may go into a further get that movie right with that book too. There's more than just writing that book, correct?
Um, there is, but it's not what I'm into.
Yeah,
Really
yeah,
into the creative process.
yeah.
And matter of fact, I don't really trust writers who come to me saying, I want to write a book that could be made into a movie. I think
Ooh,
it's
do you
not,
have them? Do they come to you like that?
well,
Do you,
sure, sure. But
okay.
to me, it's a matter, Marie, I come from a family with three girls, and they were very verbal, so I was very verbal. I had to find my voice or else I didn't eat. So I developed my voice early. And I wrote my first story when I was 7. I developed a confidence in my words, in my voice, both both spoken and written. But a lot of people get that beat out of them, and they have stories that they want to tell, but they either don't know how or they don't believe they should. And so the emphasis of my job is not really to sell books. And I know that sounds contradictory. It's to get the book out of them and get a good book out of them that they're proud of. And so, no, I don't do any marketing. None of my clients have hit New York Times or whatever. And although they may care, I don't really care because what
Okay.
I know is that we wrote the best book. So, but that's a
Right.
long
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. And my daughter actually has a degree in screenwriting from the New York Film Academy, but she also has 3 degrees from MIT. Anyhow, but doing screenwriting is different, different type of writing than writing a book. And I just want to put that out there. It's a whole different concept because it's dialogue and they have to be able to, and you actually have to do staging in it too when you're doing it. Even though, no, James, because you've done theater and you've done different things, when you're looking at a book, because uh, reading a book and reading a stage play or reading dialogue like that is a little bit different,
I'll
isn't
tell
it?
you what the difference. Well, I'll tell you what the difference is. This is really funny. This is why a lot of good writers they hate screenwriters, and why very few good writers can be screenwriters. When you write a screenplay, you have to leave a lot on the table for the director, the costumer, the designer. There are things you got to leave out. And so if you read a screenplay or a script, you'll see it's reduced primarily to dialogue and blocking sometimes. He stood over here. But you
Hmm.
don't see a lot about color, dress, how they felt, the mood, who stank, the kind of thing you would read in a book. Because again, you got to leave that for the director and everybody else.
Makes sense.
And if you're a writer, you've written an organic product, and suddenly they're asking you to cut it down, pare it down, or you'll get a director that decides that the 5'9" woman should be like an 8 foot tall transvestite for artistic purposes. But your artistic purpose was that she was a minor character. And when the director decides to fill that table with his stuff, suddenly what you wrote as a profound commentary on human nature becomes a comedy. And so, script writing and writing a book, they're two different kinds of writing.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to do a shout out to a couple of people. If you're watching us right now, and if you hit like or love or something, I can see who you are, just so our audience knows that. Scott Zirkelbeck, thank you for watching. My cousin Katrina, coming from Eugene, Oregon, thank you. And Writers on the Air, I'm taking it. It's either Linda Shell, Emma Fights Alberts, or Linda. Oh, Linda. Well, other Linda. I'm having a brain freeze, but it's one of the two Lindas. But I'm thinking it might be Linda Shell. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in and watching and letting us know that you are here and that you're liking what you're seeing. And James, let's tell everybody where you can come on this Saturday to come and see these people that are going to be um, showcasing their works of art. To me, it's literary art. So that is something that I can't do. But here we go. It's up on the screen for those of you that are watching us on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter right now. So it's Saturday, February 25th, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Free and open to the public. If you're an author or an artist, $20 registration fee for the authors or the artists. That's so they can have a table and all. With that, they have to bring their own table, right?
No, I want to make this really simple. I mean, a lot of the authors are older folks, and watch it, they have to drag their furniture with them. So we'll have tables and chairs. If they could drag themselves there and their books.
Okay, and if they have those table tents or whatever they have. Okay, and contact James and write this down, everybody, and I can put it on the bottom of the screen. Contact James at 941-258-4920. Again, James, 941-258-4920. Let's have those phones start ringing on James' phone. And
Marie,
what?
I just want to mention, it sticks in my mind, you mentioned I'm the first guest of the year.
Uh-huh.
That reminds me of a funny story. When I was a boy in first grade, I came home one day and I was really proud. And I told my mom that my teacher likes me the best. And she said, "Why, Jimmy?" I said, "Because every time we line up, she puts me at the front of the line." And my mom, your last name is Abraham.
That's because that's hysterical, James.
That's cute.
I'm honored to be the first.
Yeah, that's why, James. We have you as our first guest because your name starts with A. That's hysterical. And also, you can get a hold of James at book-broker@hotmail.com. And I'm going to put it on the bottom of the screen so people can come back to this and be able to see it. You'll see it in the comments, and I will have it coming up right now. If you notice, it just popped up there, and I will do this and show it up on the screen. And that way you can go ahead and get a hold of James in case you would like to know any more information, or if you can they still get a table?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
No,
Can I show up on Saturday and get a table? No, I'm not going to be coming out, but yeah, I would love to though, but I just can't do events right now. But James, I imagine you're getting a lot of response because when I looked, you've been in a lot of Florida Weekly, the Charlotte Sun, the Gulf Coast Writer, your event, and that. How many people do you think will be there just in authors?
I'm actually disappointed. I count 30, but that includes the presenters. I had expected more, really, and I'm not sure if that was
did they not know about it? Yeah, I don't know. Do you have a Facebook page or an event started? Do you have an event started where you have it posted as an event? Because it'll show up on Facebook. Okay. Because you were telling me that you don't know, you're just getting into Facebook. If you put a Facebook event up with it, and you can have it where, it's at the Military Heritage Museum, it'll show up in the feed of things happening in the area, and people can see it then. So that's just a tidbit for our audience too. If you have an event going on, if you do list it as an event on Facebook, it'll show up if you go and look what events are going on and stuff, it'll pop up. Yeah, just for something to do. Yeah. Well, I'm just a wealth of information, I'll tell you. Right, Dee?
You are. It's a true story.
But
it's scary sometimes, but yes.
I know. I miss being with people, live people. I've been in the house with my husband and my daughter, which we don't see that much, but with my husband, let me tell you, when you were saying about the writer, and sometimes, you're wondering, oh, he he watches my shows sometimes. Okay, enough with that.
You say something?
What did I say? What did I say? Yeah, but it's been such a pleasure. I miss seeing your lovely face, and you're so much fun to be around, James. You really are, and you're such a wealth of knowledge. Very opinionated. If you want an opinion, you just ask James. He'll give it to you, right?
Give me a nickel.
Yeah, I'll give you a nickel and you'll have it. I gotta cry now. Yeah. No, no, Dee Dee, is there anything that you learned today that you did not know?
I'll tell you what, I feel so inspired to even be part of it. I was fascinated when he was describing each of the speakers and what they did, and because I love reading, so I wanted to know more about each one. So just listening to James made me want to go.
Oh, James is wonderful, and truthfully, going to these festivals, you're going to get the wealth of information and the mistakes that other people have made too, that you can learn from what other people have done and not make those same mistakes, and actually learn from really published authors that have done really well out there in the world, because there's over how many millions of books published a year that people from around the world. There's like
I
millions.
was smart enough to tell you, but a lot of them. And
Yeah.
I'll say this much: what's happening right now is similar to remember in high school when we studied Shakespeare, Ben Jonson, Marlowe. All of them came along at the same time, and people who don't know better would say something was in the water or they all got smart at once. But what happened? The printing press had been invented. So anybody with thoughts and access to a printing press, suddenly their work was getting out there. What's going on with the internet, writing online, Kindle? Anybody, any knucklehead could be an author. And so this is a wonderful time for writing. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I am so sorry, but we do have to end the show. I know the world would like it to go on and on, but unfortunately, we do have to call it to a close. And you know why that is? Because we're a radio show and we only have much time. We'd like to thank you, our audience, for the privilege of your time. We know you have a lot of choices of how to spend your time in your life. If you took that time out of your day and listened to us, God bless you. We have choices in life to be kind or not to be kind. Dee Dee, what should we always choose?
We should always choose kindness.
Yeah, because the world would be a better place, wouldn't it, James? And I know, James, you're full of kindness, and we are so privileged to have had you today as our guest. Thank you, everybody. This is Marie LaBrosse and Dee Dee Gozion and James Abraham. You're listening to us on WKBW 97.5 FM, Barrel Community Radio. We're coming out of Northport, Florida, from the Bishop West Real Estate Mobile Tower. Have a great day. Again, be kind. If you do anything else today, just be kind, be nice.